Hello, welcome to Book Talk. Today's book is Elegant Minds Handbook, Transforming Reaction into Response. And I'm your host, Anthony Mwerore. Welcome. And it's such an honor to have you here, every one of you who is watching. And we appreciate every effort that you make to share our episode with all your friends. And yeah, subscribe. And always remember the books that we talk about. Go get them. Go get them. Yeah, they are important. They are good. And so today, as we discuss the book Elegant Minds Handbook, we have the author with us. And I'm going to introduce the author to us, who is none other than Paula Tozer. Welcome to the show, Paula.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you here, and we really appreciate you taking your time. And we also thank you for writing a book because the time that you take to write a book and produce it and also present it to people is important to be appreciated. So we appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Before we keep going, we would like to know who is Paula in short.
Well, I am an author, singer, songwriter, actor, and director, creativity coach, and Toastmaster who lives in New Brunswick, Canada. So, right in the capital city of Fredericton, which is on the east coast of Canada. And I've been in doing creative things for, well, over 40 years. And I have just begun within the past decade starting to write books. So, An Elegant Mind's Handbook is my second book. And this is the book that has been, after my first one was self-published, then the second one was picked up by Divorce Publications out of LA, and I'm here now promoting it.
Wow, that's quite wonderful. And you talk of many things that you do. I wonder how you manage to do all those things. I mean, you're a blogger, you're a coach, you're a singer, songwriter, uh, a podcast host. Uh, where do you get all that strength?
Uh, it I think that people have got to realize that we are all creative beings and that you are going to express the most joy and find the most joy in your life when you use your creativity.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I wanted to start to, not hold myself back anymore. I found I was doing that a lot in my younger decades, let's say. And I decided if there was any time to do it, it was now. And so I began exploring all different avenues of creative expression. And I
Mm-hmm.
realized that talent is totally ageless. So it doesn't matter if you're 20 or if you're 50 or if you're 70, you can express yourself in a creative way that brings you joy. And that is one of the main things that drives me and gets me up every day. It's my ikigai, as they say in Japan. Yeah.
Wonderful. And I looked you up and I saw you singing Pick Me Up.
Yes, yes, yes.
So, what kind of music do you play? Do you compose and play?
Well, that is a really interesting thing because I have been exploring different genres. At
Mm-hmm.
first, I had a bluegrass guitar player. So I wrote songs that were basically in the bluegrass genre.
Mm-hmm.
Then because I grew up listening to country music more than any other kind of music, so that was a big influencer in my earlier days. So
Mm-hmm.
then I decided to change over and because I love blues. So I started working in that genre a little bit. Then I was influenced by a wonderful musician who does a lot of theater. So I started doing some musical songs. Then I decided I was going to change that to explore things more in the jazz side of things. So that is where I'm working right now, is in the easy listening jazz genre. And I'm just finding it delightful to explore every different aspect and stay eclectic because I I guess I just don't like being tied down to one thing.
Mm. Yeah, and so let's talk about elegance,
Mm.
the reason that we are all here today to
Yes.
talk about it. Yeah, for someone who may be so green, someone who may be wondering what is elegance? I mean, why do I have to pay attention to the word elegance or to the livelihood of being someone who is elegant? Yeah.
Well, elegance is simplicity, it is style, it is good taste, it is respect, it's dignity.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, to me, it's a sacred thing because it is showing, it's revealing the very, very best of my character. And so when I was writing an Elegant Minds Handbook, those were the things that I wanted to explore, is how can I express the very best of me in the different contexts, in the different concepts that we use every day. And so an Elegant Minds Handbook is a series of 52 statements that are designed for contemplative work, for
Mm-hmm.
inner work, for discovering what you really think about something, not what somebody has taught you or what somebody has told you to believe,
Mm-hmm.
but what you truly intrinsically believe yourself, what motivates you, and it's actually exploring your whys.
Mm-hmm. And if I may ask, what triggered you to write the book?
I think at the point when I started writing it, so it would have been about almost 20 years ago now that I started writing this sort of thing. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to become in touch more with the side of myself that was the most honorable and compassionate part that I could possibly imagine, because I was going through a lot. I had a lot of difficulties during that period of time. I was going through a painful divorce. I had a job that was exceptionally challenging. There were just a lot of there was a lot of turmoil, and I needed to have an anchor. I wanted to have an anchor in my life. And I thought that if I can find a way to be calm and serene within myself, to be elegant, then this will help me in my life. And it certainly has. So the pursuit of elegance, people often talk about the pursuit of happiness, the
Mm-hmm.
pursuit of financial success, but the overall umbrella is more the pursuit of excellence and elegance that will allow you to be the most honorable and compassionate person that you possibly can be. That part of us that everyone has, I call your constant traveler. That's the part of us that is with us all the time. It is, as Jung described it, the wise woman, the wise man, the sage, and that person is within us, every one of us. And we
Mm-hmm.
simply have to allow it to have its voice. And that's what an Elegant Minds Handbook does. Is an invitation to the reader to explore the topics that we discuss, that I outline in an Elegant Minds Handbook,
Mm-hmm.
and what is it that you believe for yourself? Let's start a discussion. And what happens, and it's really very interesting, is that the discussion becomes internal, and you're having the discussion with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and you realize that there is a part of you that is very wise. It's getting you in touch with you.
Mm. Yeah, and I like the fact that you ask us to engage the guide within us in the
Mm,
book. Yeah, that's so beautiful to remind us that each and every one of us has that potential to to draw greatness from themselves. And
oh,
so
yes.
if I focus, if I go deep down and start to dig the positive things that I can draw from there, then I'm going to become an elegant person. So thank
Yes.
you. And in the discussion, in the talk, in the highlights of the things that we need to embrace, I know you cover a lot of things in the book, and the one listening ought to go and get the book to discover all those things. Let's talk about love at first.
Ah, I think that we have been conditioned to believe certain things about love.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that when we talk about, and we've been taught to believe that we can never understand what unconditional love is. Well,
Mm-hmm.
for me, I think let's just bring out our beautiful canine pets. They show us unconditional love. We have examples of it everywhere.
Yeah.
And when we are so focused on simply looking at the beauty, at what we see around us, or in the person's eyes of the person that we see right in front of us,
Mm-hmm.
we are not focused on judgment. We're not focused on conditions. We are focused on the undoing of conditions. And that will change the way you feel about life, because when you think beautiful thoughts, you are in that moment beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that everyone can discover, that there is this aspect of love is not selfish, it is selfless, it is expansive, and it simply allows everyone to be exactly who they are, and that includes you.
Mm. That includes me and the way I want to love, the way I feel strongly that my love is going to be expressed. So it's myself and what I have to bring out of myself. And we talk about going deeper and searching for those qualities within us. But then you also say, yeah, that we are subject to forget. And you say, yeah, that forgetting, talk about forgetting. We forget. What do we forget?
Well, I think that when I think about forgetting in that context, it would be that we have to unlearn some of the things that we have learned in, especially in our younger years,
Mm-hmm.
that about what things are. Discover them for yourself. Think for yourself. And if you're confused, find someone to talk to that you trust, that you can kick ideas around with. That's one of the things that I love to do with my creativity coaching, is to help people to find the things that matter to them regardless of what they've been told. Like some people have been told they are not talented. They've been told that they're not smart. They've been
Mm-hmm.
told different things. Those things, that's not right. You don't have to accept that.
Yeah.
And so those are the things that I would say, we have to forget those things. And then remember who we are. Remember who we are as a human being and all of the wonderful attributes that we were born to express, that we came to life to express, the things that I call our first nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you also talk about the elegant mind recognizing the inherent dignity of all living beings.
One of my absolute favorites. This one is the idea that everything in the world that we look at is therefore they have got dignity, they deserve respect, and we can learn from them. I think a lot of times in our humanness, we think that, we're the top of the food chain. We think that we are we have the final say in everything.
Mm-hmm.
But lots of times with an elegant mind, you are realizing that when you have authentic humility, you realize that you really don't know that much of anything. So allow the world to be exactly what it is, and to they're expressing themselves in exactly the right way. And you simply have to accept it and not try to change it. So
Mm-hmm.
the inherent dignity of all beings allows you to be grateful for everything and everyone in your life.
Mm. And then we come to the question of who is better, me or you?
Ah,
How does the elegant mind deal with that?
an elegant mind knows that no one is better than anyone else. We
Mm-hmm.
all are here for our own, because we wanted to arrive on this earth to share the things that matter, and the things that are, to me, it's beauty. I want to share my inspiration. I want to
Mm-hmm.
share the beautiful things. And the reason for that is because it makes me feel good. And if it makes me feel good and it comes from my heart, then it will make you feel good. But I can't allow myself to worry about whether it lands properly. All I can do is have the right intention and share it with that elegant intention. And if I do, then I know that I'm on the right track. And it's the same for anyone who will read the book. When they are sharing their beauty with the intention of being the best person they can be and with honor and compassion, that's all that is asked of us, right? That is all that we can expect from ourselves, is simply to be as elegant as we know how to be. And know, and this is another interesting, really cool thing,
Yeah.
that the more you learn, the more you realize that you're growing, you're
Mhm.
changing, and you can accept that, right? Because change is the only real constant in the world.
Mhm.
And yeah,
Oh, yeah, and you also talk about that in a separate chapter. How many chapters are in the book for the person who's listening and is wondering? Oh, you mentioned about the 52 statements. Are they
yes,
each a chapter? Each
yes.
statement is a chapter.
Yes. So in my first book, I'll backtrack a little bit and explain how this happened. In
Okay.
my first book, I wrote it's called Saving Your Own Life: Learning to Live Like You Are Dying. So it is exploring how you can truly live. So when that book at the end of that book, I created the series of 52 statements that was only the statements that would allow someone to continue doing their introspective work.
Mm-hmm.
So as time went by after that book was published, I thought to myself, well, how can I open a dialogue further on these topics, on all of these wonderful topics that will allow someone to learn and grow about themselves with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So then I expanded upon those so that I would give people who are reading the book some opportunity to say, okay, I believe that. I agree with you there, but I don't agree with that one. And then to look further into why that is so. And so that is what this book is about, and that's how it came about, was an invitation to dialogue with yourself basically when you read the book, but with anyone else who is, wanting to discover and explore those topics as well.
Mm-hmm. And the question again comes, why? Because you mentioned it twice, and I am wondering, could there be something within that? Why 52?
52, I decided on 52 so that we would have one per week.
I was
And
thinking about that. A
I
one per
thought,
week and an extra one.
so what I thought is that, okay, if you go through one per week and you really chew on it to get the flavor out of it,
Mm-hmm.
then you will have a full year of contemplative work, contemplative inner work that you will have done. And that would be an extension of the work that you do from the original book.
Okay.
So that is why 52.
That's wonderful. Yeah, and for those of you who may be joining us right now, we are at Book Talk and we are discussing the book Elegant Minds Handbook, something that you can use to draw some elegance from within you, focus within you, see those aspects in you that you need to bring out to make you an elegant you. And we thank
Yes.
Paula Tozer for doing such a wonderful job that she's done. So we remind you to share this episode with your friends. We remind you to also go get the book, but we will tell you before the end of the show where you go to get the book. Now we've covered not even 10 items from what you've shared in the book, and we know you talked about one of your favorites, and we wouldn't want you to go out of this show without covering some other two, three of your favorites.
Ah,
So let's go on. Let's hear more of the elegance from your book.
all right. Well, first of all, let's talk about living in the gap. It
Mm-hmm.
was Viktor Frankl who talked about that there is a space between stimulus and response, and within that space lies your freedom. So when I read Man's Search for Meaning, that was one of the most impactful things that I received from that work,
Mm-hmm.
was that there is a space within us where elegance awaits us,
Mm,
where freedom awaits us. And by freedom, when I started to explore freedom, I started realizing that you have to have an open mind. An open mind is a free mind. And that is where you can take a step back, retreat into a space where you have all the time that you need because it's your time to take.
mm,
And you can explore these different things from that perspective. You don't have to. No one has to allow someone to provoke them out of their elegance. We can hold on to that space,
mhm,
even in the midst of adversity. And the more that you stay there and the more that you realize how beautiful it is to be in that space, how calm it is and how serene it is. It's an aspect, contemplation is an aspect of meditation. And
mm,
with me, when I think about contemplation, it allows me to have a dialogue with myself and to write, which is my preferred form, because when you write something and you get it out onto paper, then
mhm,
you can put your thoughts in order and you can make sense of them, and
mhm,
you'll see that they, number one, they may not be always positive, but they're not you. They are simply a thought.
mhm,
So then you can revise those. That's the beauty of writing. You can revise it if you need to. And I've created a process, and it's the process that I use to write the book, called contemplative writing,
mhm.
where you set up a beautiful space. You've got your sanctuary, I call it,
Yeah.
and that is the space where no intrusions, you allow no intrusions, and you just write from your heart,
Mhm,
and anything that comes up is okay for you to explore. There is nothing that is taboo in this space because you are accepting yourself and the wise part of you has enfolded you. And you can really think about those things in this space.
mhm,
And that is unconditional, right?
mhm,
So that is how you can, I guess, realize that you can have unconditional acceptance in your own life by using this form of thinking, because writing is a very effective form of thinking,
mm,
because you can the words come out in a nice order where they could be jumbled around in your head and just bouncing around in your head, and this allows them to you to have some order. And if your thoughts are chaotic, if you are feeling like you're out of control, the thoughts are really controlling you, I would suggest taking the time to find a nice quiet space for yourself and to write those things down and really explore them from an attitude of, what can I learn from this?
mm,
What is the message embedded in this? So that is where the gap comes in for me. That gap is your space to take. And this is a cool thing. The more you stay there, the bigger it gets, because I find that now I spend more time there than I do outside of it.
mhm,
And that, because it's almost like working a muscle. The more that you realize you can do it, the more, and how good it feels to do that, the more you want to stay there and the more you can stay there because you've developed that muscle, you've developed that strength to be able to do that.
mm.
So that is living in the gap. Now,
And my
yeah,
question is this gap the one you call in chapter 4 the wellspring of inspiration, or is something different altogether?
that, oh, and exactly, that is where you access the wellspring of inspiration.
Okay.
It, because every one of us are marvelously creative beings. We were creative from this, maybe before the second we were born.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that we have been taught to deny our creativity, to deny our creative potential to the degree that we're taught we can only accept someone else's creativity, that
Mm-hmm.
ours is not good enough. And creativity is the source of our joy. Inspiration is the source of our joy. So
Yeah.
how can a person be happy if they can't access their own creativity, their own imagination, their own ability to play?
Mm-hmm.
So that is what I call the wellspring of inspiration. Every time I enter into this, what I call my sacred space, my
Okay.
sanctuary, I
Mm.
am rewarded with inspiration.
Mm.
Everywhere I go, I see the beautiful things that it's like, oh, I have to write about that. Oh, I have to make note of that because it's too cool to forget. I don't want to forget these things. So you can your eyes change, your
Mm-hmm.
vision changes, your perspective changes, and that is what the wellspring shows us, is that we have got the ability to tap into it. We have an all access pass to it, and all the time we can be there, but we have to work at it. And we have to believe it, first of all. We have to believe that we are creative and that we can be inspired.
Mm. Thank you. And let's keep going to the next one, because
Ah,
I know you have so many that we may not cover all of the ones that are your favorite, but we would like to hear one more or two more, and then we'll be done.
all
Yeah.
righty. Well, the next one is when you are within that gap, that is where you meet your constant traveler. Now, the
Okay.
constant traveler is always with you. Sometimes we think of it as the inner critic, but that's only one aspect of it that we can say when we're in our sanctuary. You stay outside the door. I will talk to you later. I will deal with you later. But in this space, only honor and compassion are allowed to to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens is when we address that part of us, it generally is there to protect us in some way. And it doesn't have to be that way. We can tame that part of us, and we can become friends with the person who is always with us, who never leaves us, no matter where we go. We always have ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that part of us can be our best friend, our best ally, our compadre. We can have the most wonderful traveling companion because we always can access that person within us. And the more that we explore that, the more we realize that, yes, I do have that part in me.
Mm-hmm.
Just the same as what we think other people, how do they do it? How do they stop those negative thoughts from coming in? How do they do this and do that? Well, explore it. The only way beyond is through. And if you want to get beyond that negativity that sometimes makes us not want to be alone with ourselves, then address it.
Mm.
Address it and speak to it with love and compassion. And that is what your constant traveler will, the constant traveler will allow you to express yourself in a way that will make you feel proud of what you express. So it is what transforms reaction into an elegant response.
Mm. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Beautiful. And we are just about to come to the end of the show, but I'm going back to the time that you decided or you started thinking, or maybe even putting down thoughts that became finally the handbook, which was some 20 years back.
Yes.
And you also talk in your book about goals,
Hmm.
goals with elegance. Tell us about that. Go,
Okay.
and maybe a time frame, even as we are talking about our time being over in this show, about setting goals and maybe having time set for things that you want to accomplish.
I believe in life goals. I
Mm-hmm.
think of them as the things that actually define and give our life purpose. Because when you think about having an overriding, elegant life goal, this
Mm-hmm.
goal is something that is bigger than you. And that is something that can define a person's life. It
Mm-hmm.
can give you meaning and purpose. So, goals are vital to a best life. They are something that everyone should explore, and I invite you to, send me a message if you'd like to explore your own a little bit more. You can check it out on my website, pauladtozerauthor.com, and we can talk about that. Or we can, you can also set your own goals with a coach or with someone you trust or with a mastermind group or with, I think that lots of times goals are better when shared,
Mm-hmm.
because then you have a team, you have a tribe, you can pull together and you can feed off one another and make that happen. So for me, setting goals is exceptionally important, so that because you are defining your trajectory. You're defining the way that you want your life to be, and that is your true north. That is your roadmap to get where you want to go. If you don't have a map, how are you ever going to know when you get there? You don't even know.
Yeah, yeah.
So so that, I think goals are vital to life. And
Mm-hmm.
so I call them life goals, because they don't necessarily mean, I want to do this before I die. I don't need
Mm-hmm.
to define my goals in terms of, you know, I'm running out of time. But if that works for you, that's fine. But for me, I like the idea of, I just want to play. I just want to enjoy my life. I just want to have fun and share what is the best of me with other people.
Mm. Beautiful, beautiful. And thank you very, 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 very much, Paula. We really appreciate you and the time that you've taken, the writing the book again. For those who are joining us, maybe who may listen later on after we are through, the book that we discussed today is Elegant Minds Handbook by Paula Tozer. Engage the guide within you. So, once again, we remind you, as Paula mentioned, if you want to go to connect with her or go get the book, go to www.paulatozerauthor.com, and
Yes,
is going to be a wonderful time connecting with Paula. You saw it here. You saw it here. So go and connect with her. And
exactly.
yeah, so that's just about it for today's show. It's been an honor having you, Paula.
It has been so much fun. Thank you so much, Anthony, for having your podcast and for having me on it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And for those who watched, thank you too. Those who are listening, thank you. And those who share, thank you.
Yes,
Those who give us some feedback, thank you. And everyone else, thank you very much. So, this has been your host on Book Talk. And together with Paula, we are saying bye for now.
yeah.
Bye.
Goodbye.